Hello students, this is the video lecture that I'm doing. I'm trying to keep my voice down because I'm in Barnes & Noble. This is the video lecture that I'm doing about current stuff with magazines. This goes along with the other video that you've watched. This one is being recorded on January 8th, 2025. So it's current stuff about the magazine industry, and it's current as of today, and it's certainly more current than the last video. But I'm not sure exactly when you're going to be watching this. And I want to say something. Hopefully this music won't do the copyright thing on YouTube. Anyway, when we talk about magazines and newspapers, these refer to an older form of distribution, as something actually on paper. But even though we're transitioning to a world of digital, I'll turn around this way. Even though we're transitioning to a world of digital, when we talk about newspapers and magazines, we're still talking about a specific kind of media outlet. And even though people are reading everything online and not actually buying the printed product, there's still a lot of life left in these old industries. And also, when it comes to advertising, CPM, that means cost per thousand. We'll talk about that in a later module. The CPM rate for a print magazine is much higher than the online version of that. So even if a print like Fashion Magazine behind me has less readership than it used to, you can actually charge more for advertising per thousand readers. CPM means cost per thousand. You can actually charge more for the print product than for the online product. So for all these reasons, I think it's important to take the topic of magazines and newspapers seriously. Even if you might mentally associate them with an older form of media, there's still life left in these old industries, and there's still some things to be learned from studying them. Okay, here we go. This is the video lecture, current stuff about the magazine industry. I covered this particular topic in the last video lecture, but I just wanted to go over it again, that magazines do create a pseudo environment. That they do not depict reality. They depict a version of reality. It may be a very attractive version of reality. And I also want to stress that even though, I mentioned this in the introduction, even though it may seem like the magazine industry, the old magazine industry of print, is going away, they are very, very, very valuable brands. Magazines have established themselves, and many of these brands are associated with a particular industry or a particular line of products. So advertisers still want to attach themselves to that. Here we have some information that I found online. This link is in the lecture notes. The same link, if you look at it, lists various reasons why advertisers may want to continue to associate with magazines as opposed to online or something on Instagram or TikTok. You can get high quality visuals. There's a certain prestige, and there's a certain amount of trust that the consumer gives to something that's in a magazine versus something that's totally online. And what this web page right here lists is some specific magazines that luxury lifestyle products might want to associate with. Architectural Digest, the people who are reading this obviously have money. They obviously have disposable income. I love the fact that there is a magazine called Cigar Aficionado. Anyone who's going to be spending money on serious cigars probably has money maybe for a yacht or something like that. Condé Nast Traveler, Golf Digest, another rich person's hobby. GQ, The New Yorker, and we have Vanity Fair, and let's not forget Vogue. And then also, I just want to take a moment to touch back on another topic that I also covered in the beginning of the first video lecture about all the specific magazines that do exist. Magazines have differentiated themselves and specialized themselves, that there are magazines that cater to very, very specific niche. And I bought, a movie magazine about weird cult obscure movies when I was at Barnes & Noble. I wasn't expecting to buy that, but I saw that thing and I recognized that. So yeah, if you have some particular hobby or interest or particular type of pet like cats that you like, I guarantee there's a magazine for you. Okay, I have a couple of slides about some famous magazines. National Geographic is still around. Man, this thing has a long, long history, beginning in 1888. That's well over 100 years. What is that, 140 years? Almost 140 years. Long time. It was published in 40 different languages at one point. Known for great photographs and good articles about, different cultures, different parts of the world. Here's one of the most famous covers of National Geographic. It's probably one of the more famous magazine covers of all time. This photographer captured this young, I believe that's a girl in Afghanistan. Just a very, very haunting cover. Yeah, from 1985. And if you go into any kind of like old junk shop, thrift store, or any kind of old vintage shop, you oftentimes can find huge piles of National Geographic because there's just so many out there. Time Person of the Year. We have Person of the Year for 2024. When I did the last video lecture, hadn't been announced yet. And lo and behold, it is Donald Trump, Person of the Year for 2024. Time has been picking, it used to be Man of the Year, Woman of the Year. Now it's just called Person of the Year. I've been doing this for almost 100 years. And again, I said this last time, not necessarily the most person you look up to, not the most moral, ethical, or noteworthy person in that regard that you would use as a role model for your children, but in terms of significance and a person who has influenced change. And yeah, I think Donald Trump probably isn't a reasonable choice when you look at it from that parameter. And we have Sports Illustrated. Sports Illustrated's been around for a long, long time, changed owners a couple of times. Um, the print product has been suffering, but it's still going on. The swimsuit issue, which comes out every year, is typically their top selling issue. It's still, just a very, very valuable brand. And over the years, over the last several years, when they pick people to be on the cover of the swimsuit issue, they kind of open the parameters of what historically was not accepted in the past. We have women of color, we have older women, we have plus size women. I think they even had a trans woman on the cover. And so you might say, hey, putting someone like Martha Stewart on the cover of Sports Illustrated is so progressive, or showing a plus sized woman on the cover in a swimsuit is very, very progressive. And isn't Sports Illustrated great for doing this? But I just want to point out, that like, why do we have to continue to objectify women and only value them based on their physical appearance? Maybe, if Sports Illustrated wanted to be progressive, they wouldn't have the swimsuit issue at all. What's the sport of swimsuits? Maybe they wouldn't have the swimsuit issue at all. I'm just putting that out there as a point of conversation, not trying to like alienate anyone. Rolling Stone magazine was very not so big anymore, but it was big decades before, and it started specifically as a magazine to cater to the counterculture. Okay, the late 60s and early 70s, the hippie movement, the anti-Vietnam War movement, people who are into folk music, Bob Dylan, all that stuff. Now it's kind of morphed into a magazine that covers music and politics of all kinds. And here we have an older cover with the rock band REM on the cover from Athens, Georgia. I went to college in Athens, Georgia. Shout out to all my homies, Bulldogs, Athens, Georgia. Now, this Rolling Stone cover, I talked about magazine covers before. This one kind of caught some flack. This is one of the Boston Marathon bombers. Yeah, this guy put a bomb and blew up. I think they killed some people, the Boston Marathon. And people are upset when this cover came out because it kind of looks a little dreamy, maybe romanticizes him. If you didn't know that he was a killer, you might think, oh, this is a up and coming singer, guy in a boy band or something like that. So Rolling Stone got some flack for this cover. How dare you try and humanize and bring some other qualities to a bomber? This just cracks me up. This just makes me laugh. The fact that one of the most popular magazines historically has been a magazine catered to another form of media. TV Guide tells you what to watch on TV, because we have so many different media outlets and so many video outlets out there. There's no way, TV Guide can actually cover what's on every channel, but it still exists and still out there and still gets, some readership. Now we have a slide from AARP. AARP is usually one of the top. So this is for retired people, older people, let's say mature citizens, um, people who are maybe more prone to reading magazines. Um, this is a great place to advertise if you have products that are going to cater to that older demographic, especially if you have pharmaceuticals or something like that, or maybe people who want a vacation or people who want a second home or something like that. What you're looking at here is the editorial calendar. AARP puts this out to try and get advertisers to book slots in upcoming issues, and they're telling you, hey, coming up in the coming months, here's what the topic is going to be. Maybe you want to be in this. Maybe you want to be in this magazine. Now we have, let me move myself right here. Okay, leading magazines in the United States for the second quarter of 2024 by total average monthly audience. Now, we're not just talking about print, okay? If you looked only at print, I do believe AARP would be number one. But when you factor in total audience, including people who are looking at the online product, People Magazine has a significant lead. People Magazine gets a tremendous amount of traffic from the mobile version of its magazine that people look at on the phone or on their iPad or something like that. People Magazine actually gets more traffic from that than they actually get from print. So again, if you looked only at print, I believe AARP would be the number one magazine, but People actually is the number one magazine when you include online usage as well. And here we have, this just repeats, this is another way of looking at that last set of data. This is for now the third quarter of 2024. This information is put out by the Alliance for Audited Media. That's the same organization that does insert verification and circulation audits for the newspaper industry. This is the organization that keeps magazine publishers honest about their circulation figures. And again, People Magazine is the leading magazine in terms of total audience. In terms of total audience. Now, when I was doing research for this lecture, I do research for these lectures. I'm not just talking extemporaneously. And I found this article in the New York Times that said Costco connection, which maybe some of you see or maybe your families get, goes out to everyone in Costco. I have a Costco membership. Costco on the weekends is my version of hell. Yeah, they said, New York Times says this is the third largest circulation magazine in the United States. That's what the New York Times says. And the article also talks about Jimmy Kimmel, late night host. Jimmy Kimmel is a huge fan of Costco, and Jimmy Kimmel approached Costco and actually asked to be on the cover. But when you look back at the data that I was just showing you from the Alliance for Audited Media, Costco is not showing up. Costco is not listed at all. I even dug down into some Excel files that the organization makes available. It's not listed. Maybe it's not listed because it's totally a free publication. But I don't think it matters if your magazine is free or if people pay for it. If you can get in front of millions and millions of eyeballs, you are a valuable advertising platform. Okay, so people may say, well, Costco Connection doesn't count as a real magazine because it's just something that's given out free. If it's in front of millions of people, I think it's a big magazine. So I'm not going to ask you a quiz question about Costco Connection, but I just wanted to throw that out there that is a very, very big magazine in the United States. If I ask you a question, it's going to be about People or AARP. There you go. Okay, now I have some data that comes from the, I think, Magazine Media Association of the United States, some industry trade group. Okay, it is an industry trade organization that puts out data about magazines. Now, the purpose of these studies is, I'm not saying they're lying. Okay, I'm not saying that these trade organizations lie. Okay, don't put words in my mouth. But what they do is skew the data and present the data in such a way to present their particular media industry in the most positive light. The reason they do this is because magazine publishers do not want advertisers to move their dollars totally online or to radio or to television. The media industries are essentially in competition with one another. So the data here is generated by the magazine industry to paint magazines in the most positive light. Okay. This is a supplemental report for 2024. And what they're claiming, magazine industry is claiming, is that the average American reads 3.9 magazines per month. And now we're talking print now. 3.9 print magazines per month. And when you look at various ethnicities, it's actually a little bit higher. Well, Asians are a little bit lower. But yeah, Black African American, American Indian, or Alaska Native, these are higher. I don't know why that is. But this is the way the magazine industry is tracking the data. And we have here, let me move this over here. Okay, what they're saying here on this slide is that magazine readers, when they see advertisements, they respond more positively, that they feel that the ads fit with the content, and they're more likely to make some action based on the ads. Here, yeah. What actions are taken as a result of seeing print advertising? You might recommend the product, have favorable opinion. Again, this is so that advertisers will spend their money on magazines. And we have now readers broken down by age. 18 to 34, very, very attractive demographic, 35 to 54, and then 55 plus. What are the kinds of things that people spend their money on? And you should be advertising if you think you could reach one of these groups. Now, this is a little bit older. This graphic comes from a few years ago, but I really like it because it's another selling point for magazines, is that they stick around long. Something that maybe shows up online or shows up on TV is just very ephemeral. It's gone, could be gone quickly. But the audience for a print magazine actually accumulates over time because it's sitting around. Maybe it's on a coffee table, maybe it's in a doctor's office. So that's an interesting selling point for advertising in print, that it accumulates over time. And then here we have, this is a graphic from 2022, that magazine readers are more receptive to ads in magazines versus TV. And here's some reasons why. They give you some reasons why that's the case. And then finally, boy, I love this, like, super scientific data. You are more likely to take action. The consumer is more likely to take action if they see an ad in print and online. So advertise with us in People, in AARP, in Costco Connection, in Sports Illustrated, and also, advertise in the online product as well. And here is the magazine that I got at Barnes & Noble, The Phantom of the Movies Videoscope. It's all about weird genre movies, exploitation movies, that kind of stuff. Not the kind of movies most people in the class would like, but I love that kind of stuff. And look, they got this review here about Bruceploitation. These are not movies with Bruce Lee, but I guess there was a lot of movies with Bruce Lee imitators. I didn't even know that. And Herschel Gordon Lewis, he made some early gore movies. Read about Herschel Gordon Lewis, and that's the kind of stuff that's covered in here. And the ads are all for weird movies, DVDs, Blu-rays, Night of the Blood Beast, that kind of stuff. So these kind of magazines really exist for the ads to sell that kind of stuff. But anyway, that's what I'm into, and there's a magazine for everything.